Call to order the meeting of Monday, June 24th. If the clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Cole.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Here.
Councilmember Moeller.
Here.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Here.
Mayor Rupp.
Here. You have before you the minutes from the regular meeting of June the 10th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Ruiz. Is there any additions, deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes will stand as submitted. We have one presentation tonight. If the clerk would please read that.
Jeff Bohm, Chairman of the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners, will discuss the county landfill.
Okay, thanks for having me. Been a lot of discussion as far as what St. Clair County has been doing out at the landfill, and part of this is I've been going out to the different townships and municipalities and making the presentation. This is pretty in-depth. We have had a couple series of meetings, which I know that Bob Clegg had attended, along with a lot of other individuals originally. So I'm going to kind of go through this, and I'm going to open up for some questions and answers. St. Clair County owns its own landfill. St. Clair County is a closed county. What is meant by that is we do not accept trash from outside counties currently at this time. You hear a lot about our septic bioreactor. We talk a lot about our bioreactor. What our bioreactor is ultimately is it's part of our landfill, which let's back up here, collect septic from septic tanks. And what we actually do is we re-inject that septic back in the landfill, which creates a tremendous amount of decomposition. Howard Heidemann's actually here with me tonight. And Howard, I've been on the board 8.5 years, and Howard has been on 2 years longer than I have, and they actually started this previous me being on the board. So that's how long this bioreactor's been in development. In the bioreactor in 2004, we started with that particular process. And when you look at it, this is basically when you come out to our landfill, we have a processing center, which they come in, the trucks unload. It separates the solids from the liquids, and it force mains that particular product into the landfill. Those are our storage, our sludge storage and liquid storage that we have out there. That's really the product that makes the decomposition work. 8% of our total gas production is a byproduct of a landfill. You have methane gas. And what we do with that methane gas, we actually turn that gas into electricity. But 8% of our total landfill gas is produced, 8% of our landfill produces 40% of our gas. That's how much this bioreactor works. And it actually breaks down trash 7 times faster than traditional methods. So county made a tremendous investment in the bioreactor, and I'm glad to be here to tell you it's working. Now it's the math behind it, and St. Clair County does have the patent for that process. What really though, in recent era in time, we really have seen our landfill volumes drop, and I'll get to a slide that shows that. In 2011, we hired 2 consultants, which are longtime former waste management guys. Jim Logston, he's really the guy in the business side of it, and Bob Ratz is the engineer piece of it. To really take a look at our landfill operationally from A to Z. And they had came back, made a bunch of recommendations on some different changes that we need to make out at the landfill. We put those in place, which resulted in some significant cost savings. But one of the things that we don't really have a lot of control over, being a closed county, is our volumes. In 2003, I'm going to get to that. 2003. This is like the 37-page deal. Waste tonnage decline. Here's a lot of the discussion that we've had recently. You've heard us talk about opening up with Lapeer County, bringing in Canadian trash, so on and so forth. If you look in 2003, we had 368,000 tons of trash. 2011 was 185,000. 2012 was 172,000 tons of trash. And our landfill, like anything, it costs you X amount of dollars to run that landfill and maintain it. Then any of the trash that you bring in over and above, it really doesn't cost you that much additional money to process. $4 on the back of the house. You have some post-closure liability and some things. So about $6 a ton to process trash. Problem is when your volumes get down so low, your landfill doesn't make you money anymore, okay? And we're kind of at that, I don't want to say the slippery slope, but we're right there where our landfill is at that area which if trash volumes continue to decline, we have to make some decisions on what we want to do. And the big piece of that is trying to maintain the residential rates. We've currently upped some of the commercial rates. We did not raise the residential dump fees at our landfill. We've held those true. Trying to get some additional trash volume, trying to do some things to get back up to that 300,000 mark. Because if we don't, there's really a few options we've talked about. You really have the option of selling the landfill, which it is an asset for the county. B, you'd have to raise tipping fees substantial, and I'll show you a similar county that has a landfill that doesn't have a lot of volume and how much they have to pay to get rid of their trash, or try to bring in some additional trash to get to that happy medium. And that's really where the Canadian trash thing has come into discussion, trying to bring in some additional volumes through that mechanism to get back to that point which we can maintain that landfill. One thing that the landfills do have is it costs a ton of cash. I mean, in 2015, we have another cell construction coming up, which is over $2 million. So you always have to have X amount of dollars of working capital available for your landfill. The Canadian trash piece of it, even with Lapeer County, a few years ago, we tried to amend our solid waste plan with Macomb County. To amend a solid waste plan has to get sign-off on 66% of the communities in both counties. We got denied in Macomb County, so that was not an option for us. Lapeer County, we've been talking to Lapeer. Lapeer doesn't own a landfill. They'll be more than happy to do it. Lapeer produces about 80,000 tons of trash, half of what St. Clair County does, and you'd really get maybe 25% of that. So an additional 20,000 tons of trash isn't going to cure our headache, so to speak. So the Canadian trash piece of it, that you see the Canadian trash coming over, I've got a chart that I passed out to you guys that shows you, that's a separate sheet that shows you where all the Canadian trash goes and what landfills it actually goes to. Okay, there's a lot of this stuff that's going to Flint, past the airport, and so on and so forth. Half of it goes to 26 Mile Road, Lennox Township down there. And when you talk about additional volume, and these are some things, because we always, two things we get is, we don't want, 200 trucks rolling into our landfill every day. You're gonna kill the life of the landfill. A trash truck is roughly 30 to 35 tons. If you see the big lime green ones that Stafford have, those run 40 plus, but those have a special mechanism that they have in place to actually dump those. They actually have, if you go down to Lennox Township, they have a machine that actually picks the whole truck up and dumps the truck, and then they move out, and those are really expensive to put those in. So your traditional truck is 30 to 35 tons. We're really talking 4 to 6 trucks per day is what we are looking for to get to those volume numbers. That would give us enough additional volume to get us back up to roughly the 300,000 mark. So when people ask you how many of the trucks were you looking for? The other piece of it, when you talk about life of your landfill, there's a Smiths Creek fact sheet that I have in there for you that talks about years of life. Currently, we're going through a permit expansion, which would give us 90 years of life in today's standards. Yes, if you bring in additional volume, yes, it is going to take some of your life out of your landfill. But I can tell you with technology, number one, this bioreactor didn't exist 10 years ago. Number two, we've got companies in now that in St. Clair County that Howard's been part of it. There are technologies out there that exist that process trash and only leave roughly a 10% residual on your trash. I mean, it's out there, it's for real. Only question is, do you want to pay 4 times the amount of money to get rid of your trash? It's like anything. There's different ways to handle and different ways to process. Substantial amount of money to do that. So this tipping fee right here, something I want you to focus on. Wexford County is a great example of a county that owns a landfill. Wexford County's up by Cadillac, okay? That's what their tipping fees are at Wexford County, because there's only X amount of trash that comes in that landfill. They have a X amount of overhead that they need to maintain. So those are the kinds of numbers that they have to charge just to maintain that landfill up there. $22.55 is an average of what our tipping fee is at our landfill. Municipal waste is actually $19.50. So when you say how much does a household pay, because in that $22.50 there's hazardous materials and those types of things, which construction material, which gives it a blended number. really, I'm going to, I guess, open it up for some questions. I just want to give you a brief update, and a lot of times it's just easier for the question and answer side of things.
I'll open it up to the council if you have any questions. Councilmember Harris?
I guess I only got one question. Maybe Mr. Brown could answer as much as Jeff could. We just recently passed a water waste pickup company, and we went through bids and everything like that. And basically, I just want to know how this is going to affect our waste management rates.
Talking about the trash, the waste management with your, the municipal contract you just signed, or Bob would be able to.
Yeah.
Mayor Rep and council members, our agreement with Marcotte to continue the waste collection services for the next 5 years is based on current rates at the landfill. If fees were to go up, the incremental cost of those fees would be passed on through the contract to the city to pay. And we keep track of load tickets and so on and so forth that go out, so we could keep track of that cost. And of course, the vendor would supply us information too, but we can get it from the landfill and we can get it from the other source, so we can cross-reference. But that's the only way you can really bid a document. Contractor is responsible for evaluating their trucking cost and their fuel costs. We have a fuel surcharge we built in to get a competitive bid price, and the same thing is true for tipping fees. If the state put a surcharge on landfills, they had talked about that from time to time, that would get passed on also to us as the users in the contract.
So really, any increase would just be speculative at this time.
It would be passed on to us, and there'd be an increased cost to the city.
Average household produces roughly 1.5 tons of trash. That's kind of the averages they use in their contracts for pickup. So for example, if the landfill, I'm just throwing this out there because we haven't talked about it, but if the landfill raised the tipping fee piece of it, let's say it went from $19.50 to $29.50, that would be a $10 increase, okay? What that $10 increase would equate out to, and I'm not saying we're doing that, I'm just giving you the simple math, would equate to roughly $18 per year, $15 to $18 per year. So about $1.50 kind of per month, because that's always the, okay, if you do this, what is the impact going to be on the residential piece? And we're going to work hard to keep our, to keep the things down, and we really have to get that increased volume, and it's going to be through combination of Lapeer. And the real piece, truthfully, for the Lapeer is the septage piece of it. As much as we collect a good lion's share of the septage in St. Clair County now, as we expand the bioreactor, we need more septage. And you have to amend your solid waste plan to be able to bring that septage in. So,
Other questions? Yes, Councilmember Lewandowski.
Jeff, do we know what the proposed tipping fee is going to go up to?
we don't even have, we haven't increased, we're held the line on it. We're really trying to backfill the volume with the Canadian trash. At least take a good year of trying to get to those levels. It's just kind of a long-term, planning stuff, and we got to be able to, evaluate it at the time.
And that's why I asked, is because I know when we bid out the last contract, it was going to leave services the same for 3 years, but if a rate increase comes up, that could, affect us in a way too, that we might not be able to offer the same services.
If we ever did anything, we would give you way ample of notice on that. We've had these discussions as far as the volumes, the increase, here's the reasons why we need to look for the additional volumes, because these numbers where the landfill's at, it's no big secret, they're just down. And trash in general, between recycling, the way people process trash, economy, truthfully, 60% of the stuff that comes in your landfill is the business side of it. It's actually less than that, it's 34 to 36% is the residential household waste. It's all the other. So when all these companies close and that types of things, and then they put different ways of reprocessing their trash in place that actually puts less trash in the landfill, which is a good thing. But if you own the landfill and you got a X amount of overhead to maintain, then you really got to get to that kind of happy medium. We're not talking about, we couldn't, even if we open the floodgates tomorrow, we can still only handle X amount of volume. That landfill's not geared up to roll 200 additional trash trucks or any of that kind of stuff. We're just trying to get back to levels where we had been at before and can handle and maintain that.
Thank you.
Anyone else on council have questions? Yes.
More of a comment, just so that others are clear. If I understand this correctly, it's your hope that what you're going to do is redirect some of this Canadian trash that's already traveling through our county and get them to stop in our county and drop the trash off
Yeah, all
instead.
that trash that comes over actually already has a contract, a hauling contract associated with somebody, so trying to get literally 4 to 6 trucks a day is our number, and those trucks are 30 to 35 tons per, so.
When is that going to start, as far as?
We're out soliciting as we speak, for the last 30 days, trying to actively go out and get it, so. And we've been talking about this for, a while now, and this is part of here's what we're doing, here's kind of, I don't want to say do the circuit, but it's to get the
Yeah.
questions and answers and those types of things, so people have a better understanding of it.
So you're doing a combination of both Lapeer County and Canadian?
We've got to amend
or-
our solid waste plan with Lapeer. That'll probably take a year. That's not a, quick process. And really, the Lapeer, the amount of trash, Lapeer only produces 80,000 tons a year, and you're going to get maybe 25% of that. So 20 to 25,000 tons is, yes, we need the additional volume, but the septage, the stuff that goes in to make it break down and work and everything else, we really need that. They don't haul that, that doesn't
Right.
come in across the bridge. So,
Any other questions from anybody else on city council?
We got lots of septage and sewage we can sell you if you want to buy.
well, see, that's not permitted there's certain things that are, trust me, I've had multiple calls on that. The state, because we're still in the research and development phase with the state, but that's proving, it's proving itself. The landfill, it's working. They have monitors out there, and if you ever get a chance, I don't want to say come out and see landfill, it's pretty cool, but if you haven't been out there, the technology and all the things that we've really got in place, we're really doing some good stuff out there at that landfill.
Okay, looks like that's all on that, but before you sit down, can I ask you to maybe give us a little bit of an update on what's going on with the proposal for a joint agreement? for
Yeah, we can do
management?
that now, or I was going to wait to do it, but the county actually just passed on June 20th to come before the city council to talk about a joint management agreement. I actually pulled my notes and looked at this, and I've got some dates and timelines. County has always wanted to go out and seek some professional management for the convention center. And when we were going through that process at that time, we had said, the city with McMorrin, county has some of the county parks and rec facilities. Does it really make sense to be able to sit down and bring one group in to manage or oversee these? Because we're required to have a substantial amount of staffing levels. If you ever read through that CSL report from Mr. Kruger, the general managers, assistant general managers, maintenance, IT. There's a pretty good number of folks that you need to have to do that. And when we also were talking with the hotel people, because the hotel people are required to have X amount of, maintenance people, salespeople, those types of things. And with McMorrin, is there any way to go through this and look and try to achieve some economies of scale through all this, putting, something under one group? So on January 9th was actually the first meeting that we sat, and you have people representation here from the McMorrin Authority Board. January 9th was the first meeting that we actually went and spoke with them about this, broad stroke concept of it, because the county was going to be going out for an RFP for the management of the convention center. And then I know in between we had other, meetings and so on and so forth. My timeline's May 8th is really, I know I had the city of Port Huron on there, but May 10th, we had the Venue Works and SMG folks come in for some interviews. There's a lot of different, partners in this project. When you look at this, you've got the county, which is a partner. You've got McMorrin Authority, which is a partner. City of Port Huron. You've got the Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is allocating funds towards it. And you actually have the hotel and restaurant people that have their piece of it. So you really have a lot of different moving pieces here. So through a series of meetings with everybody, and said, well, we'd like to look at this and go through this RFP process. And, collectively, everybody said, yeah, let's, see where this takes us. And we've had a lot of follow-up meetings. There's been, representation from all of the above. And on May 10th, we had the SMG and Venue Works folks. There's roughly, in global spectrum, they didn't respond. There's really 3 different major managing people, I guess, for better lack of choice of words. And we came in and collectively, everybody sat down and question answers and, you know, so on and so forth. And after that, we had some other follow-up meetings. May 21st, we had Bill Kruger come in on May 29th and the 30th to meet with McMorran, to meet with the county. Bill Kruger's kind of our lead guy on this, that's helping us put this together. He does this a lot of places, and we brought him into a lot of the different meetings, Convention Visitors Bureau, so they could ask, question, answer, you know, those types of things. And I think collectively, when we came out, and then we had another follow-up meeting, and I think everybody had pretty well felt two good companies, both good choices. I think majority felt that the SMG, with their presence in Michigan, which they manage Cobo Hall, they manage the DeVos Center, and they manage the Saginaw, the Dow Event Center up there, that they would be the ones that we would like to sit down and direct our corporate counsel, which is also, hence your corporate counsel, to sit down and see if he could work a contract out to bring it back before this board. So currently, where we're really at with this is having Gary go out, bringing them back in and work on putting a proposal and those types of things. It could come back to us and we may not like it, you know, so be it, we go our ways. But that's kind of where we're at in the steps right now and next steps types of thing. And I know McMorran, Patty, you passed on last Wednesday. Do you guys want to say anything about it? I don't want to hog all the airtime. No? And so they passed it. Now it's coming, you know, before the city council to hopefully at least, you know, take that next step. Still doesn't obligate us to anything. So it's kind of where we're at on our side. And I know you're going to have some discussion here this evening. I'll be here for question and answers, or if you want to ask me any questions
At that time.
right now.
Does anybody have any questions right now? No?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. We'll move on to public hearings. Number 1.
Is to hear comments regarding the Huron Avenue streetscape improvements and special assessment role. Following the hearing, council will consider approving the continuation of the downtown special assessment district for the ongoing maintenance of the Huron Avenue streetscape project.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 1? Seeing no one, I will declare public hearing number 1 closed and ask for a motion to approve the special assessment.
So moved.
Thank you. Councilmember Cole, is there a second?
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there discussion? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, and we'll move on to public hearing number 2.
Is to hear comments regarding the military streetscape improvements and special assessment role. Following the hearing, council will consider approving the continuation of the downtown special assessment district for the ongoing maintenance of the military streetscape project.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 2? Seeing no one, I will declare public hearing number 2 closed and ask for a motion to approve the assessment district.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewandowski. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Harris. Discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Move on to public hearing number 3.
Is to hear comments relating to changing the regular election schedule for city offices from odd year to even year elections. Following the hearing, council will consider the resolution to approve changing general elections for city offices to even numbered years.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 3? Seeing no one, we'll declare public hearing number 3 closed and ask for a motion to approve the change in the to even numbered years for general elections for city offices.
So moved.
Councilmember Lewandowski, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz, is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember Moeller.
I don't oppose this. I think I've always voted for anything that saves the taxpayers money, but I am going to abstain from voting because I have a problem voting to elect myself for another year without the people voting to give me that extra year. And I haven't talked to legal counsel, but based on the 27th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, even Congress can't give themselves a pay raise. They only can give a pay raise to the next elected people. So I have a conflict, and I'll be abstaining from it. But like I said, I don't oppose it. I just have an ethical issue that I am voting to extend my term 1 year without a vote of the people, so therefore I won't be. The second thing I'd like to say, though, it will be interesting to see the vote, because I know some of you have never voted for me before, so this will be an opportunity to see you vote for me, Pauline, and extend my term 1 year. But with that said, thank you.
I'm not sure that you can abstain for that reason. Sue is looking it up, because I think there's a rule in there that says abstain has to be due to a conflict for
Well,
financial.
then you'll have to take corrective action, because I'm not going to go against my ethics, so.
Is there any other comments on this item under public hearing number 3?
Mayor Rat,
Yes.
should we hear from council on their opinion on that?
Good evening.
Oh,
Yeah, this is a recent statute that was passed at the end of last year. As Councilmember Moeller alluded to, it was designed to attempt to provide municipalities with the ability to save the cost of conducting an election that didn't coincide with some of the larger elections. So basically, this is a new statute. It's been passed. As far as I know, it's legal. It hasn't been challenged at this point, to my knowledge. So it is a statute, and you have the legal right under the statute to pass this if you so choose. Obviously, the motive is to save the cost, which I believe is somewhere around $15,000 for the election. So,
any other questions at all? Thank you. Are you still, I guess at this point, it really doesn't matter, does it? Unless you want to.
Unless a conflict does not exist, the member has to vote.
Okay.
So whatever.
The rules do say you're supposed to vote, but that's certainly up to you. This would extend not anybody who's up for reelection this year. It extends only those who are currently on their 4-year term. It would extend them for 1 more year, so that the ones that have 4-year terms would then become a 5-year term. And then anyone who's elected this fall would be an additional year on their term, which of course everyone would know at the time they go out for the election, so that would not be something that people didn't know at the time they were voting for the people. So with that said, and if there's no more comments, I guess we will take the vote.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Abstain.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Mayor Rupp.
Yes. That concludes our public hearings. We're now under public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the city council on any item on the agenda or anything else under our jurisdiction, if you come to the podium, you have 4 minutes if you give us your name. Seeing no one, public comment is closed, and we'll move on to unfinished business.
Number 1 is approving the immediate demolition of 3008 Golden Street, which is code case number 13-009 for listed violations. This first was before council on May 28th, 2013, and was postponed.
It is on the floor because there was a motion and a second at that time, so we don't need another one, but I wonder if we could have Ms. Armour come up and give us an update on this one?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The property at 3008 Golden Street actually remains in an as-is condition. In fact, today we ordered a grass cut. We've had no response from the property owners to our notification, so they were issued a citation, and we went ahead and made arrangements to have that done. The gentleman, Mr. Sweet, did come into the office after the last council meeting, indicated to me that he had paperwork from Mr. Green, that they had an agreement that he would not be given a deed until repairs were made by Mr. Sweet, and then Mr. Green would give him some sort of a legal document, whether it be a land contract that they would enter into or a deed to the property, but that would not be filed until the repairs were completed. I talked with him about those types of repairs. He indicated that he had quite a few of them done. He was at the house when our inspectors went out and did cooperate, but there were no permits pulled for the repairs, and certainly the house has never been registered as a rental or anything of that nature. Since that time, the property has been notified by the county that they are past due for the last 2 years in taxes, and that there is a notice out to Mr. Green with regards to that those taxes would have to be paid in full by March of 2014, or the county will take that as a tax foreclosure. The water was turned on after we started the code case process, but as of June 5th, there was an overdue bill. A portion of that was paid. There's still an outstanding balance of about $60, and the water has been turned back into Mr. Green's name. We have not heard from either Mr. Green or Mr. Sweet, and no documentation to show any type of ownership records has been given to our office, except for those that are on file that show that it was still and remains still in Mr. Green's name.
Was there, I think one of the debating things the last time was whether there was anybody living there or not?
Mr. Sweet indicated that he was off and on as he was doing the repairs. He was under the impression that the house was going to be his as soon as those repairs were completed. But again, we have no certificate of occupancy. It was only the last day of February that the water was turned back on. No permits pulled for any type of work that was needed to be done in order to get a certificate of occupancy.
And the actual owner is Mr. Green at this time?
Yes, that is what our records show and the county records show at this point.
Does anyone on council have questions for Ms. Harmer? Thank you. Then we'll take any discussion on it. We have public audience, and you did not speak at that time.
I have an opportunity to address this on this issue.
It's public comment time is when you should have addressed it. It'd be up to council if they want to allow him a.
I'm going to give council an update on the situation.
Does anyone have an objection if he speaks at this time?
Mayor, I'd like to speak, but not to that. I just want to compliment Kim for being here, and thank you for bringing us up to date. Not that Bob doesn't do a good job when he fills in for you, but you're much better at it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, but I do have to extend a thank you to Mr. Clegg, as many of you are in those situations. I have a senior this year. It was a very special evening for him, and I wanted to make sure there was someone from the family to congratulate him on an award. So I am very thankful to Mr. Clegg for stepping in. I told him it was going to be an easy night.
You lied, huh? Well, if no one has any objection, you just have brief. Would like to do that.
Thank you, Mayor Rep. I appreciate that very much, and council. Mr. Lloyd Sweet was in possession of this property until this last Thursday. I did on Friday receive a notice to get the grass cut, which is in process as we speak. Anyone that understands the hostility of someone in possession of a piece of property will understand the fact that my hands have been tied since the 28th in order to gain possession back of this property and to begin to do any kind of repairs. I'm in the ability right now to pull the permits as of this week and move forward and do this. I have received no correspondence from the city of Port Huron other than the grass issue that I received since the council's last hearing of myself. I was not requested to bring documents or anything to them, and I surely would have done that had I been requested to do that to Ms. Harmer. We would like to move forward, repair this, make it a viable piece of property back in the city of Port Huron, and make it owner-occupied. I have two prospective people that want it for an owner-occupied dwelling when this is done, and, that will end the problem, at least for an owner-occupant. I have no intentions of renting it or doing anything other than putting an owner-occupant back in it. It will create even more of a nuisance, I guess, for congregation of individuals in that area without somebody living in that area, especially to have that one specific lot left alone, because it will be kind of set in between. I would ask that you allow me to come in, get the permit started this week, and move forward with the repairs, and go from there. And I do appreciate the abeyance at the last meeting so that we could get moving on this. But however, my hands have been tied to the fact that I've had a hostile individual in possession of the property, to which we now have it restored. Mr. Sweet's half-brother, Rich, who is here in the audience, helped me facilitate that with this gentleman. I was concerned with the fact of Mr. Lloyd Sweet's possession. He left a dog in that premises, and that's surely no way that I want to see anyone in a neighborhood have anybody, have a neighbor next door to this. But, I'm not a person that creates a slumlord situation. And my reputation in real estate in 30 years stands by itself, and I've done what I've always told that I will do, and that's what I would ask the council to obey this. Let me go in, post the $5,000 surety, and get going on this.
Well, thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
Kim, is the property salvageable?
Well, as I've said before, I suppose with enough time and money, just about anything can be had. My concern, and not to use this podium as a rebuttal, but would be the fact that, to my knowledge, we've had no complaint of trespassing or request for assistance to remove anyone from the premises that didn't have any legal ability to be there. The grass was knee-high, with no attempt to cut it or attempt to contact our office in the last 30 days to ask for any arrangements to be made. So I'm a little concerned about the history of the property and the lack of response since 2008.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions, discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Moeller.
Kim, is it cheaper for us to take it after it goes back to the county, or is it cheaper now?
You want to buy it back? It just depends if you want to buy it back or let it go.
Yeah.
No.
It's probably less expensive to move forward with action now.
Okay.
With the county, we'll have to wait until 2014, March, so.
Thank you. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Moeller.
I'm torn on this one, but I made the motion last time to extend this for a month, and I've dealt with a lot of difficult people in my life, and I'm not making a motion to extend it this time, so if somebody else wants to, okay, but I'm sorry, Mr. Green, but it seems to me you should have done something, so.
Okay, any other discussion? Now we have a motion on the table to approve the immediate demolition of 3008 Golden Street. Take the vote.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We will move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewandowski. Is there a second?
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Take the vote.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. On the consent agenda, there were several items approved in agreement with Tegrec Group LLC Consultants and Actuaries to conduct an actuarial valuation of post-employment health care benefits for the city, adopt revised ballot language for the street millage renewal proposal, and authorize the city clerk to place the matter on the November 5th ballot, confirm and approve single-lot special assessments for the cost of removing weeds, unlawful growths, and/or blighting factors, certifying the delegates to serve at the 2013 Municipal Employees Retirement System of Michigan Annual Meeting in accordance with the Municipal Employees Retirement Act of 1984 as amended, Approve the reappointments of Michael P. Cogley, James A. Dewey, and James B. McDonald to the Zoning Board of Appeals for terms to expire July 1, 2016, and gave an ordinance its second reading and enactment, which was amending the zoning ordinance for the purpose of rezoning property located at 1320 Washington Avenue from R1 Single and Two Family Residential to I Institutional District. And that takes us back to, from the city manager, number 1.
Is accepting the quote from L3 Mobile Vision Incorporated in the amount of $34,290.85 for a video recording system, and the quote of Absolute Sales International in the amount of $5,505 to install the system in the police department using funds from the Burn JAG Grant and Drug Forfeiture Fund.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Cole, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz, is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember Lewandowski.
question for the chief.
Yes.
Chief, it's a question on, I guess, if we're putting these in the old cars or if we're going to be waiting to put them into the new ones, because I know the Ford that we have is not being made anymore, so I don't know if we're...
Either, these aren't for the cars. These are, let me explain, we're consolidating two different systems. We have one system, L3, there's a front end and a back end. The front end would be the cameras in the car, the DVR in the car and that type of thing. The back end would be a server and an archive system that makes disk and stores that and interchanges that. In addition, there's a system inside the police department that has several rooms wired for sound, audio, and video for interview rooms, victims, suspects, the booking area, areas of high traffic. The Michigan legislature recently enacted law that requires a good portion of interviewing to be taped. We were already ahead of that standard. We've been having problems with the older in-house system, and I was looking for a way to save some money, but also meet the standards of the new law. So what we're doing is we're consolidating the back ends of both of these systems. The camera systems need to be replaced. I've been looking at it for a grant in the future. But the back end of these systems, we'll combine them together and run them off of one set of servers. And then the camera installations, if you will, and the audio equipment will remain the same. We're basically buying the components for the back end of the system that allows us to access the system, the prosecuted system, and also make it larger so we can keep much more detailed videos.
Okay.
It's all paid for through grants.
Like that?
Okay. Any other discussion or comments? Thank you. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to number 2.
Is accepting the proposal from BS&A Software in the amount of $26,570 to upgrade the assessing.net, tax.net, and delinquentpersonalproperty.net programs.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Lewandowski, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Harris, is there discussion?
Mayor Rath,
Yes.
an
Mayor Pro Tem
explanation
Lindsay.
on the need for this and where it's budgeted?
Good evening, Mayor Rep and Council. It's budgeted in the 2013-2014 data processing budget in the capital line. I brought it here before the year starts so we can have maximum time to coordinate the implementation because it involves both taxing and assessing, which are two critical business functions of a city. The reason it's required is when in about 2009, BS&A introduced a new set of products they call them .NET, based on the platform they are written on. They also run on SQL Server. They're more robust. And at that time, we opted not to upgrade them. They're not really an upgrade in the sense they're a purchase of a new software system that does the same thing, but upgrades the functionality to be the same. We also have the .NET versions of their building system, our utility billing is on that platform, so this will complete the migration to that. The reason it's needed is because they're sort of forcing our hand. They've stopped upgrading and making enhancements to the old system. And if there are things we need, they'll no longer even do those for a fee. So we're kind of being forced to do that. Also, there's a system of decreasing or declining discounts. So next year, the same thing will cost us more and we'll have not had the functionality. The products are superior. A lot of things that the Treasury Office has to do now manually, this will do. The county, this isn't a reason, but the county has both versions because they have to consolidate records from the pervasive version and the .NET version, and they find the new version to be far superior. So I think it's time. We've kind of delayed it for a couple of years. We've been kicking around whether to do it because you can always, it's the typical upgrade thing. You see it with Windows versions. You know, what do you get for the new version? Well, not a lot that you have to have, but the longer you put it off, the harder it is to justify not doing something. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember
Just
Lewandowski.
concur with you. I've been using BSNA software over in Macomb County now, and the new .NET's much nicer than the .com. You can store a lot more information. You can put pictures of the house in there with it, so you can go back and reference later. There's a lot of different stuff that you can do with the .NET, and like you said, they're just not going to make it anymore, so you don't have a choice at this point. And BSNA is definitely the top program for the taxing departments.
There really is no reason for us not to do it, and we've run into a couple of issues this past year that have actually hurt us because we couldn't do certain selective restores of the database and the pervasive system, and the reporting isn't as good. And we have brownfields inside of TIFs, which nobody, I guess, in the state has. But the older version won't handle that, so all of that accounting has to be done manually, and the new version will do that. So there's a lot of reasons. I think the time is right.
Thank you. If there's no other questions or discussion, we will take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Move on to item number 3.
Is approving amendments to the 2012-2013 budget for end-of-the-year adjustments.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Mueller, is there a second?
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there questions or discussion? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to resolutions. Number 1.
Is approving the agreement with the Michigan Department of Transportation for wayfinding sign placement work along various federal aid routes.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Lewandowski. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember.
is this in addition to what's already been done?
I think Mr. Clegg can probably answer that one.
Mayor Rep and council members, we have been working with a community group, and we have also received a $100,000 mitigation grant. It's 100%. Both the feds and the state are paying 100% of the $100,000. That will pay for the wayfinding signs. The few that you have seen installed thus far are not actually the final product. Those are a temporary measure to assist the developer of the hotel and restaurant to have a way for customers and the convention site to have a way for people to find it until the wayfinding signs are concluded. There's a photo of the wayfinding sign behind you. This is what has been bid as part of the bid package. It goes through the MDOT process. There's been a pre-bid meeting this week, and those bids will be open in about mid-July. And what we will do, it's an unusual bid. Instead of bidding, we want 12 widgets, and let's see how close we get to the 100,000, maybe leaving dollars on the table. Instead, we're going to bid this as, there's $100,000, and we want 34 widgets. How many of these widgets will you install for us? And the ones that will install the greatest number of signs wins. So that assures us that we get maximum use of the available $100,000.
Any other questions for Mr. Clegg?
Good.
Thank you.
Well,
There's no other discussion, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Mayor Rupp.
Yes. Move on to resolution number 2.
Is approving the agreement with the Michigan Department of Transportation for the non-motorized pathway work along the abandoned railroad right-of-way from 10th Street to Military Street.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz, is there discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
No.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Rupp.
Yes. Move on to resolution 3.
Is approving the agreement with Tetra Tech of Michigan PC for the engineering coordination and administration of the combined sewer overflow control program and the implementation of a private inflow and infiltration elimination program.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Lewandowski, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Is there discussion?
Mayor Rupp.
Yes.
I guess I got
Councilmember
one question for Mr. Clegg. Being this company is the sole bidder, so it be, what's their unique qualifications? I know Tetra Tech is one of the best.
well, they're certainly, they have a very good local presence, but that's not just it. Tetra Tech MPNS, or Tetra Tech was hired originally by the city to do the plan. And in order for us to hold their feet to the fire and be responsible for the plan, it is best if we continue to utilize their services through the plan. To take them out of the equation at this time, if you will, would let them off the hook for what the plan originally was, and to assure that it is implemented in accordance with the permit requirements in the director's order.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Mr. Clegg? Thank you. There's no other discussion, we will take the vote.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Mayor Rupp.
Yes. We'll move on to resolution number 4.
Is approving the extension of the McMorran Civic Center Authority governing authority through December 31st, 2017.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Moeller, is there a second?
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there any discussion?
Mayor Rapp,
Yes, Councilmember Lewandowski.
if we approve this to 2017, are we going to be able to amend it at any point in time that we need to?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
Mayor Rep.
Yes,
Just
Councilmember
along
Harris.
with Alan's comment there, I am going to vote yes on this, but the one thing that I think that kind of concerned me, and maybe we can address later on, if this council and administration will look at Article 5, Sections 1 and 3, and as previously noted, I think it's something that we can look at in the future and make a possible change. Thank you.
Okay, so noted. Any other discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller.
Yes.
Mayor Rupp.
Yes, we'll move on to resolution 5.
Is approving the reappointment of the current 7-member board to the McMorran Civic Center Authority for terms to expire December 31st, 2013.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Moeller, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz, is there discussion?
Rep,
Yes, Councilmember
as good
Ruiz.
as time as any to thank those individuals who are on this present board and for their dedication and hard work, and I'd like to see it continue.
Thank you, I agree. See, they only asked for 3 or 4 months and they got 6 instead. Is there any other discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Resolution 6.
Is authorizing the city administration to negotiate with SMG for the management of McMorran Place.
So moved.
Councilmember Moeller, is there a second?
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there any discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Move on to Resolution 7.
Is approving the sale of paintings from the McMorran Murphy collection by the Port Huron Museum.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Harris, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Cole, is there discussion? Oh, thought somebody was going to say something, no? Okay, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
No.
Councilmember Moeller?
No.
Councilmember Ruiz?
No.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, that concludes our regular agenda. We do have a couple of announcements. Port Huron Housing Summit Town Hall meeting will be held tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. at the Fine Arts Theater at SC4. And we certainly are encouraging the public to come and attend and bring forth their ideas. Port Huron's Classic Auto Exhibition, Putting on the Ritz, will be held June 28th through the 30th on the grounds of the Port Huron Museum at the Atrium Cafe, Ballantine House, and area streets. And next week, on July the 4th, the city offices will be closed in recognition of Independence Day. Also, I just wanted to add in there, because it's come up at other meetings, that we have good news in that the property sale went through on the Water Street Marina, and that the paperwork is final, and they now own it, and I believe Mr. Brown is meeting with the owners on their development plan next week, correct?
That's correct.
So we should have some good news in the near future.
We picked up the check, so we got the...
Yeah, that's the good news, yes.
Good news will be when they start construction.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Is there anything else to come? Yes.
Just one
Councilmember
comment.
Harris.
Margaret's probably real happy that that's concluded now, the purchase. Right, Margaret?
As soon as the grass is cut, I can.
It's now their responsibility.
The children, there's only one.
So, is there anything else?
Mayor Rapp.
Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you for your vote tonight, and I just want to say it's the first time I've ever won an election with 100% of the vote.
There you go. Is there anything from anybody else? If not, we will entertain a
Except your
motion
own.
to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.